My sister-in-law tried to embarrass my baby boy. He has autism, and she tried to embarrass him right there at a birthday party in front of the entire family, in front of all of our friends. So I say this to my sister-in-law. Few things are as sacred in life as children can be. When I was blessed with Adrian, I told myself that no matter what, I was going to be grateful to God, and I would make that baby the most loved kid in the world. Yes, I remember very well the day I said that, which was on a Thursday, because I fantasized about having a stereotypical family since I was a little girl. I collected dolls and played family games and stuff like that. As an adult, I was able to start making that dream come true by meeting a nice man, Ed, getting married to Ed, and then moving on to the next level. Now, imagine my reaction when, my baby's born and starts exhibiting unusual behavior. As they say in the crime movies, the eyes. You know everything by the eyes. And when I saw my son and he would look away from me almost immediately, I knew something wasn't quite right. He's a healthy child in every sense of the word. He cried when he, had to cry, and laughed when he thought something was funny, asked for food when he was hungry, and looked for me when he needed something. My husband did not seem to notice anything wrong, but I knew there was something different about him, something special. I saw it in the eyes every day, and then, as early as 3 years old, things seemed to become more obvious. He didn't speak, he made no legible expression of communication. While my cousins and friends and children were saying their first dadas and mamas, my little Adrian was gawking at the TV screen, watching his colorful programs for hours, and my mother even criticized me for this practice. She told me that I gave him too much audio-visual entertainment and that I offered him my tablet as if it were a pacifier. But it's just because he would get upset if I did not give it to him. He would start throwing some not-so-normal tantrums. I'm a big softy about that, and I just let myself get manipulated quite a bit by those things, and the first time in years that my husband and I fought, it was precisely because he needed the tablet for a job, and the kid was using it. He insisted, saying that he should use it, and that the child should not be given everything in this life. So many comforts were going to make him uncivilized, empty-minded. And when he said this, a fierceness in me came out. I didn't know what happened that made me so aggressive. I admit I was a little out of line on that occasion, and I started to pick a fight with him just because he said something like that. Something that wasn't even mildly offensive, and I don't deny that to this day. I think the attitude wasn't the best. But when it comes to my baby, I have a lot of defensiveness. I take a lot of defensiveness. It wasn't until he was 6 years old that a child psychologist confirmed the suspicions that we've had for a long time. It seemed that Adrian had certain signs within the autistic spectrum, and that, as he got older, it became more evident. He didn't speak and only preferred to be in silence, painting and watching his favorite programs. He had a predilection for certain colors, blue, purple, brown, and I was sure that music did not appeal to him at all. He was in a part of the spectrum where he wasn't able to socialize with others, as he tended to ignore them or get very bored quickly. He has a chronic attention deficit, not being able to pay attention to anything but television for more than a few minutes. There have only been 2 exceptions. The first one is one of my cousins who is very good with babies. He always clowns around a lot and manages to get the children's attention. I think it's also because of the colorful way he dresses up. The combination of this, along with the sounds and dances he made him look like a cartoon, having Adrian's full attention. The second way he pays attention is with other children younger than him. See, we put a baby next to him once, and he stood still watching him. He didn't understand how such a little person could exist. He was detailing it with his eyes, and when the baby was about to wake up, he started, all by himself, stroking it on the cheek, and I died of cuteness. It's well known that autistic people, while lacking many social skills, can be quite skilled and intelligent in some specialties. Many musicians fit this description, and amid all this talk about my son's condition, I was hopeful that this was the case, and of course I was discouraged by the idea that even though my boy was healthy and nonviolent, I still had to take him to a special care facility. A school for the different. If you ask me, well, I never stopped loving my little guy, even if he wasn't like everyone else or if he needed help with a few things. It was just something I was clear about when I decided to have him. I even remember talking about his possibility years ago when I was much younger. I kept telling myself that no matter what happened, I was going to love my son above all else. I'm writing this just to give an insight into all that can go on the mind of a mother of an autistic child. They are also understanding people at what they do. It's only necessary to know what they can do, and as much as it pains me in my soul, the field of music is out of the question, because it doesn't usually attract his attention, so he doesn't care much about it. However, I'm hopeful about paintings. Although he does his little doodles, he puts his whole soul into them. I mean, he wets his fingers in the paint, looks for complex shapes in the pattern that only makes sense to him, and he's already an artist. I made this intro so I can tell you about an uncomfortable experience I've had with my sister-in-law today. She's a very high societal person and all that. She's too plastic in this life and only goes by appearances. She's one of those network influencers with viral content and such, but with a soul more rotten than garbage when it's not picked up in a month. She's always looked sideways at my boy, and whenever she can, she gives herself her two opinions. Either says something cruel about him or just stays away from him. She prefers to stay away from the child as if he has an incurable disease or something, and it's terrible coming from a grown woman. And the worst thing is that she preaches love for each other, acceptance, mutual respect, and she's the first one who doesn't heed her own words. I've talked to my brother about it, but he says I exaggerated a bit. My brother can sometimes be very innocent, and obviously he's going to be supportive of his wife, but no one can deny to me that she sees my son as a liability. There have been many occasions where we have family get-togethers, and she misses out of the blue. But I haven't heard of the first meeting where we didn't go, and she didn't show up either. She prefers to ignore the issue, but today's unforgivable. As I said before, my son doesn't have the best social skills. And when Adrian gets attached to something, the wisest and most prudent thing to do is just to go with it. Because cutting off an interaction, no matter how small, can cause an adverse effect that will be marked for life. When he gets excited, he starts making grunting noises and claps. He doesn't speak. He doesn't say a single word, and he just stares at a strategic place and puts his finger in his mouth, staying that way for a few seconds before he gets bored and moves on to the next place. Anyways, we were at my brother's house, and when Adrian approached my sister-in-law, hugging her, with all the affection and innocence in the world, she pulled away, giving a panicked yelp. Of course, the situation looked comical. She laughed because he had taken her by surprise, but when I saw Adrian's face scared and looking up at the sky to start making a crying face, things started to change. Someone just got on my list. The kind of thing should not be done since, as I said, the child can take it as fear or even danger, and it'll remain in his subconscious for life. Autistic children are very delicate in many respects, and I've been told cases where they keep the same practices just because of a few seconds that passed in their development. Anyways, when I discussed it with my brother, I was a little surprised, because he also noted how this behavior was disrespectful. We talked to each other about it, and he told me that he would discuss it with her, and I don't want to be a conflicting generator, but if it were up to me, I would tell her 1,000 times to her face, because my son, well, you don't mess with him. Update number 1. My sister-in-law has reached a pretty high level of hypocrisy. She's a bit of a social media star with her videos and reviews that aren't that great, and this week she came to talk about autism. Maybe moved by everything that's happened with Adrian, I say she's a hypocrite because nowhere does she mention the reason why she started talking about it. That is because she's been bad to a child with a special condition or anything else. All she cares about is making herself look good to the audience. Although she said many things about autism and brought awareness and exposure to these conditions, not everything in her video was accurate. She mentioned that autism is a serious condition that affects a high percentage of people. and that symptoms include lack of speech, erratic behavior, which I believe was based on Adrian's. Of course, much of this is wrong for one reason or the other. The truth is that autism is a huge spectrum, and can include so many behaviors that it's difficult to list them all in a single video in a few minutes. But she doesn't realize this and has just done her 2-page search engine research to say whatever rubbish she can about the subject. This has the opposite effect. After posting, she received criticism on social media. Some corrected her, stated that she had provided false information and had missed important details. Others, however, supported her and encouraged her to ignore the negative comments. Social media can be dangerous because people often present their opinions or obsolete truth and can quickly label others as sexist, racist, or classist. Although I'm 100% sure that my sister-in-law is not like that, I feel that this is the best way to understand how sensitive the issue is. The right thing to do is seek out information on the subject and not err on the side of ignorance. But since everything is so easy to do for the sake of brevity, she prefers to spout gibberish as quickly as possible to generate traffic. My husband and I talked about this with him on neutral ground. The video currently has over 1 million likes, which is quite a lot for the content she usually uploads. On the other hand, he's angry about it, but on the other, all this negative content does is make people do their own research. It's interesting how incorrect or low-quality content can sometimes lead to further knowledge, even if it's just to criticize or humiliate others. I don't understand these mentalities, but I prefer to focus on taking care of my baby and give him all the love he needs. I haven't discussed this with my brother, but I think he would agree. Update number 2. Well, I didn't think I could get so angry with a person, but I guess in this life we're not prepared for much of what will happen to us. My sister-in-law said something that I consider unforgivable, and yes, it is about Adrian. Degrading him like never before and sending to hell all that talk she did in the media. The thing is, her daughter's birthday's coming up and she was preparing a big party. A piñata, a giant cake, live entertainment. She was talking to us about how she was considering bringing in theater shows, but she could not find a party agency for that day, so she didn't know if she could get clowns in time. My brother gave her the idea that there should be people who did not work in the industry, but who she knew would be able to help us. So maybe everything could be a little cheaper. We even thought about our cousin, the funny one, remember? She quite liked the idea, but in her twisted way, she commented almost instantly, "Hey, why don't we get Adrian in the show to be the clown, so he entertains the kids?" I asked what she meant by that, and she, fearful of having said something wrong, dug her own grave by saying, "It's just that since he's being funny, I guess the kids will get a laugh out of it. He likes kids, right?" I just stood up and asked her if she was serious. She felt threatened and asked if now, quote, that was going to offend me too, and if now she was not going to be able to talk about Adrian anymore like he was some taboo. She went so far as to say that what she had said had been a way of being able to help him socialize with other children, as she knew that he was having a hard time. I told her that he didn't need that kind of thing, other than he would just look like a tease to others, as children tend to be very cruel to those who are different from them. Her daughter would bring in the kids from her classroom, and they're just 7, 8 years old, so it could be quite a shock to expose Adrian like that. I know she does it because of the views within her networking profile, as she's still quite touched by the mudslinging that she had said just a few days ago about the issue of her autism talks. She's looking for a way to be able to remedy the situation, but she looked for the worst one of all, and it was then that the subject got even rougher. How could it be that even her daughter, my little niece, got in the middle of it all, asking why her little cousin would be a clown in front of everyone? And her mother insisted that she would do it just to be liked by others, and that if he did, she would even pay him. She then uttered a few words that sealed her sentence, and made me want to slap her with all the forces. And I quote you, "I think this is one of the few times when we'll be able to bring food to the table. We all fell silent and I grabbed my things and took Adrian by the hand. I feel like I even over-squeezed it. And we left, with my husband chasing me from behind trying to calm me down, but of course to no avail. I haven't spoken to anyone else since. I'm still too upset to articulate words. I've already decided that, even though it hurts a lot, we won't go to my little niece's birthday, as I want nothing to do with that woman. I feel very sorry for my brother, as I know he's not to blame. But he should have made a better choice to get married. At this point, I feel very overwhelmed by the way Adrian has been treated. And the rudest thing of all is that in the boy's mind, nothing bad seems to be happening. He just claps his hands in happiness from time to time and likes to watch TV for a while until he falls asleep. In that sense, I'm even a little envious of him. Update number 3. Revenge. Revenge is a dish served cold, but in my case it's quite hot and tastes like glory. The family always has to be kept together in hard moments, and even if there are weddings or unions in between, nothing guarantees that those other halves are part of the family. My brother just showed me one of the greatest forms of revenge, and as strange as it sounds, it was by humiliating his wife. My sister-in-law, I should say now ex-sister-in-law after all that happened, was arguing day and night with my brother, who had enough of her intolerant behavior. He just kept reproaching her for everything she said, and the woman's only reply was that she just simply regretted having said what she said. In a world where YouTubers apologize at least once a year for the terrible things they do or say, we know what crocodile tears can look like. That's why my brother wanted to spare his wife that bad drink and told her that there's only one way to make amends. Adrian's birthday was coming up, and since she was hell-bent on the subject of clowns at a child's party, he told her that unless she didn't want a divorce, she would show her repentance by being the new clown at my son's party. When he told me about it, I almost jumped with joy, because it gave me such a big laugh and such a shock to hear that I could not stop imagining her as a clown even in my dreams. I even went as far as to think that she would rather get a divorce than humiliate herself like that, and I knew that was going to go wrong because behind the cameras and editing, she's a charmer with 1,000,000 charisma, but when it comes to talking in person, she's pretty embarrassing. Without a script in between, that woman is finished. She and I did not talk about party preparations, but my brother said that, she would show up as a surprise to cheer everybody up, looking apologetic or something, and we both knew better, but she was doing it out of obligation, and we confirmed it when she announced that she would be doing a very important, fun, and special live next Saturday. Even in a humiliating situation, she's looking to cash it all in on the whole thing by getting views. Unbelievable. All her fans were dying to see her, generating too much pressure on the internet. She wasn't close to real-life events for the same reason I'm telling you about, her inability to socialize. And still, she wanted Adrian to be a clown to know how to socialize? But in her influencer little peanut brain, she thought that she could get away with pressure and the comfort of being in front of the cameras. Spoiler alert, it didn't. The birthday started normally. Several of the kids who studied with Adrian were there, and several parents, family members as well. I was watching my brother as we knew what was about to happen. Then, when things were already more discouraging, I noticed how one of my sister-in-law's friends were using her phone to, quote, record. Actually, it was live, as I saw it on her media. The music played, and she appeared with the clown costume. Quite, I know, pathetic. It had a lot of color, but a few colors, no wig, and the only face paint was red. We had told her that Adrian was a color lover, but that wasn't going to do anything. Seriously, nothing was going to prepare us for the carnival of cringe that ensued. First, she acted for the cameras, referring to the audience. First, kids, then the camera, then the kids again, then the camera, then everybody in general, then of course the camera, then finally the birthday boy, and then back to the camera. And so on. It was too embarrassing to watch as she had zero personality, but in her mind she thought otherwise. Even the kids came to boo her at one point, shouting boo. She did get a few laughs, but none in the best way. She fell a couple times after making pie jokes, but not on purpose, which got quite a few laughs. Within minutes, We got to see that she had over 100,000 people watching her on the internet. Many comments were supportive, but that wasn't until they saw who the birthday boy was. It was none other than an autistic child. And that's when my sister-in-law put the noose around her neck. What was planned to be a redemption turned into a criticism fest. The internet never forgets, and it was clear to us that afternoon. Everybody was throwing comments along the lines of, "Hold on, wasn't she the one who said that nonsense about autism? Number way, having an autistic nephew and talking the things she did just day before. Wait, are you telling me that little boy's her nephew?" These digital celebrities seriously don't know what else to do to humiliate themselves. I'm unfollowing. There was one that gave me a good laugh. It was one that said, "I feel like I look better as a clown than an influencer. Sorry, not sorry." Well, I laughed out loud at that one, and everyone was doing their bit for the situation, and you could see the live show and how the negative reactions were not long in coming. She was into her character and did not pay attention to everything that was being said about her on the internet. And the funny thing is that she did not even finish the show. She simply had the kids start a game with each other, which was extended without her, and she took the opportunity to leave. She blamed the end of the live show on a technical problem and felt like a dog with her tail behind her legs. She ended up crying after the event, seeing her phone and how all the comments were simply mocking her. It was terrible, it was cringy, the kind that doesn't make you laugh but pity her. She went home and started arguing with my brother. He told me what happened the rest of the evening. He asked me if his little daughter could stay with us for that night as things were going to get rough, and indeed they did. He finally revealed everything to her, how despite what she did, he was still going to ask for a divorce. She took it very, very bad. Got upset, insulted him, then called him to start saying a lot of obscenities straight to me and Adrian. The part is hard, but when I heard what she said, I went to my brother's house. Already after my son's party was over with Ed and the kids already in the house. And when my brother received me, my ex-sister-in-law was taking the suitcases. I confronted her, stood up to her in her way I've never done before, and asked her if she was brave enough to mention that kind of thing to my face. I told her that children should be respected, and that if she continued to mess with my baby boy, not only did he not deserve to be with her child, but I was going to give her the biggest punch of her entire life. Now, if you're wondering, no, I'm not violent. I've rarely reacted in a bad way in my life, and I usually bite my tongue and turn the other cheek, but I've made it clear doing all this writing that when my son is picked on, I simply lose my temper. Well, now we're two women face to face in the doorway waiting for the other to make the first move. But she just said that she had no time for anything and that I might as well go with my little boy to sleep, for it seemed that only then he would stay still. She said this already passing the threshold of the door, and that's when I pulled her hair in an act of madness that made me lose consciousness from one moment to the next. How was it that I found out what was happening? My brother recorded the whole thing, and I mean he recorded it on his phone and not only passed the video to me, but he uploaded it, where everybody saw it as her. That's why I say that my brother's the best thing that's happened to me these days, because he, even though he made his ex humiliated herself in front of everyone, he still asked her for a divorce, and not content with that, he destroyed her career overnight. The video went viral, calling it, quote, the worst day in the history of an influencer, and was even shown on the local news. It was said that my ex-sister-in-law was a bigot and a hypocrite, something that was not far from the truth. She was destroyed in the media. Everybody started criticizing her and unfollowed her, and she had partnerships with 2 brands and both of them unfollowed her, starting a whirlpool that did not stop descending. For our part, I'm writing this now a little calmer, although I also received some strong comments saying that this wasn't the way to act and that there were alternatives and there were more people who agreed with me and even supported me throughout the process. I explained this to my husband and he just laughed because according to him, that woman needed a correction. My brother is already going through the divorce process, which is already being finalized. And the good news, after his evidence, he can opt for the custody of his daughter. As for me, well, she tried to press charges against me, but the complaints was just dismissed. And she was so tired of the divorce issue that she chose not to pursue it. Maybe, deep inside, she must have realized her mistake and regretted it. She didn't give an apology either, on her social media or to me. Although to me, I guess it's understandable. We haven't heard from her again through her post or otherwise. After the bad reception and backlash against her, I don't feel it's a good idea to go back into the network. Instead, I'm more at ease now with Aiden and Ed in the house. Christmas is coming soon, and my whole family pitched in to buy Adrian some special toys that allow him to further develop his communication skills. It's something we've wanted for a long time, and I'm sure it'll guarantee us some long overdue peace. I don't support what I did, but at least I just want some understanding. Life can sometimes get very, very hard for some of us, but we must be present and strong in defending our loved ones. This was a family defending from within, and I'm very proud of both sides. Thank you. That is all. So at the end of the day, OP's brother divorces his wife, the toxic person of the story. I mean, what she was doing to make OP's autistic son feel so uncomfortable was revolting. I want to know your thoughts on today's story, guys. What you would have done if you were in OP's position, or maybe you have experience out there with this sort of story. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Drop a little advice and let's just talk about it. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories every single day. If you guys want to be a part of these daily animated stories, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a fantastic day. And of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.